Hello, this is Christoph with Kaiserworks presenting Thomas 3. We are looking here at a streetscape rendering of three properties. Starting on the left here, this is 336 East Thomas. This is proposed as a office space. This is 342 East Thomas Road. In the center, this is also proposed as an office space. And then 346 East Thomas Road. This is proposed as a French bistro and bakery and coffee shop. And just for orientation, I'll take us to the site. Here we are on Thomas looking north. These buildings, it should be stated, are being redeveloped in conjunction with 500 East Thomas. So we have one project owner that's taken on all four properties. These are being developed sort of one breath, and we have developed a landscape, hardscape, and architectural language that is consistent along all four properties. And we're also working along with the City of Phoenix to have connectivity, pedestrian connectivity within the property as well as at the street edge. This presentation is about the right-of-way that we have along Thomas Road. And I'm going to move now to a site plan showing all three properties together. Again, this is 336, 342, and 346 East Thomas Road. We have in this first slide here, and I'll show a subsequent slide that zooms us in, but this is a 10-foot wide right-of-way planter area along Thomas Road. Directly north of that, we're showing a 6-foot walk. And then I'll zoom into this in some further slides where we can zoom in and see that a little bit more crispy. In this next site plan, we're looking at the 5-foot wide planter, again with the 6-foot wide sidewalk directly north of that. Before I zoom into that, I want to sort of go back in time a little bit. This was one of the early renderings we did when we first started out with this project. We were designing with the existing sidewalk in place. So there's currently a sidewalk that runs directly on Thomas. We had a substantial planter area between that sidewalk and our private outdoor space that was belonging to our French bistro restaurant called Bijou. And moving a little bit further west, this is 336. Similarly, we were staying true to the existing sidewalk that was directly on Thomas, had a substantial amount of landscape between that sidewalk and our glazing wall for our office space. And since that initial meeting, we've had a pre-app, and we've been working to make adjustments per concerns and considerations being offered to us from the City of Phoenix, which brings us to where we are today, with the topic being the right-of-way and what is the depth. So in this plan iteration, we're showing a 10-foot depth for the right-of-way planter area, a 6-foot wide planter, 5'8" of planter space, and then a 7'2" outdoor patio space. So this outdoor patio space is sort of the casualty of accommodating a full 10-foot wide right-of-way easement. Before I go to the next slide, I want to zoom back here and just talk about 500 East Thomas. Specifically, the right-of-way dedication that was done just last year for this building is 7 foot in width, and that basically takes us to the front face of the building. So even if we were to achieve 10 feet of right-of-way planter along Thomas here, that would not be possible. I would say that would never be possible given the location of where this building is currently. So there's going to be a jog. If we were to go 10 feet here, it would jog back out towards Thomas in front of 500 East Thomas. So for, I would say, consistency's sake, we would also argue from that standpoint that we would prefer to have a smaller planter than the full 10 feet, but it really boils down to the usability of this site and the fact that this is an adaptive reuse project. That's something that I think we'd be looking at this through a different lens if these were new builds, but the fact that we're working with existing bones is a significant, I don't want to call it hardship, but it's a factor that we're working with, one of many criteria that we have to deal with this site. And so I think our request for a 5-foot planter versus the 10-foot planter should be viewed within that lens. So again here, 5 feet, 6 feet, 6'2". And this 6'2" planting really is just so there's a practical landscape buffer between someone just walking down the public sidewalk and someone enjoying coffee and a croissant in this covered patio space. I'm going to move now to a series of images. Each one, the first image is going to be showing the 10-foot right-of-way, and the second image will be showing the 5-foot right-of-way. This first image doesn't communicate very well because we have a low perspective. We're looking due north at eye level perspective from the other side of Thomas, or from the south side of Thomas. This next image, we're floating almost 60 feet off the ground, looking back down towards the project. So here we have our 10-foot right-of-way, and here's our 5-foot right-of-way. We would argue that this gives a good and generous amount of planting. It enables us to plant our trees for shading the sidewalk adequately, and it allows us to have a nice landscape buffer that precedes, I would say, a workable front patio space. Alternatively, we're losing just under half of our usable patio space, which for a sort of bespoke boutique scale restaurant is significant. That's a hardship that would equate to real dollars for a restaurant of this size. Moving now to our next slide here, we are facing due north. We're elevated again. We're looking down. Here we have 10 feet, and here we have our 5 feet right-of-way planter. And just take note of the patio space and the difference between those two patio spaces. One feels more like something you're simply walking through. When you have a entry doorway and people walking to that entry doorway, it really becomes more of a thoroughfare than it does a place to hang out. This image may be one of the more telling ones. Again, here we're showing this is with the 10 feet right-of-way planting area out on Thomas Road, and we're dealing now with a 7-foot 2-inch space between the glass and the back of structure. And then here is with the wider, we have, I would say, a workable amount of space to turn this into something where people would want to hang out. And I should say also, you'll have to forgive the SimCity sort of cold, robotic nature of these renderings. This is these are quick renderings. What you're not seeing here, this is a vine-clad ceiling plane. So we have vines just sort of falling from the ceiling throughout the space, growing up through this structure as well. Moving to the next slide here, we're moving down the street now to 336, showing the impact of the building as we have it currently designed. This glazing wall is built at the current south edge of the current building that I showed you in Street View earlier, and we do have concern if we're working with a 10-foot right-of-way planting area and 6 feet of sidewalk, we're left with, I think it's just under 2 feet between the sidewalk and the glass. We have safety concerns from a very practical standpoint. We could put a row of plants in there, but it's not a lot when you can simply reach from the sidewalk over to your glass of the storefront, and directly beyond that we have a lobby and a conference room, versus if this is going to 5 feet, we can still get our shade trees located there, and we have what I think is a more reasonable breadth of landscape for separation between those activities. So we look forward to your thoughts on this. Thank you.